Morning, folks. Yeah, I hope we're all well today. Make sure we're getting on both platforms. Yep. Morning, Stephen. Morning, Stuart. Morning, Barbara. Let's get the chat up on Restream. So, morning, Alistair. Morning, Kirsty. Morning, David. Morning, Robert. Morning, Alexander. Morning, Paul. Morning, Lynn. Morning, Struthers. Morning, Vince. Morning, Wee Bird, Scottish van driver. Alistair. Morning, Hugh. Morning, Jane. Right, numbers are climbing nicely. Let's have a quick Scooby. Alright. You're setting for a few Marys to get on board. Now, apparently we're only needing another 7 subscribers to get to 1,000 on YouTube to open up the more facilities. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, please jump onto the Two Davies YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and get us out of the line. Good morning, last braveheart. To get to the 1,000 mark, okay? Because apparently, according to what David tells me, is it opens up more facilities to us. I don't know. He's a techie guy, you know. Right, anyway, let's get this broadcast underway. It's Indy Truck Davey out the truck, not home, in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it's overcast, 20 degrees, clammy as hell. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. You want to know what it's like where you are? Look at your own bloody windy. All right, this is a review of the news for the 5th of the 8th, 2022, better known to you and me as yesterday. All right, the Monday started with one main theme in the rags, PM in waiting. Right, there are many variations on the theme. Most to do with Truss's plans to deal with the energy crisis. There is speculation on a price freeze. Now, I can see there being a huge transfer of wealth here from the public purse into the energy company's hands. Now, if, as rumoured, and let's get this straight, folks, if, as rumoured, Truss does freeze it at £2,000, as speculated, you believe me this, there'll be billions and billions and billions and billions given to the energy companies as in subsidies to get them to freeze the energy price. But it's a con, folks. The energy providers, their profits are already up fivefold. And of course we have the giants, Shell, BP, that sort of thing. Their profits, well, let's put it this way, for the first quarter of this year, BP 6.6 billion profits, Shell 10 billion profits. This is a scam, right? It's a transfer of wealth. If Truss freezes prices at £2,000, as speculated, that's already double what they were charging in 2021. So the energy companies are already making huge profits. So it's a wheeze just to say, right, we're going to cap it at £2,000. But it's more than that as a wheeze. They're already making vast amounts of money, and she's going to transfer vast amounts more of their money into their hands. So it'll be a transfer of wealth. All right. The other main theme in the rags is the Westminster government's intention to gerrymander any future independence vote. The speculation is that Westminster will introduce a referendum bill, which will mean the result of a referendum will only be valid if 50% plus of all eligible to vote votes for an outcome. All right. This is an outrage and is rewriting the general rules of democracy. The general rules of democracy is a simple majority of those who voted. Now we had this kind of fuckwittery in the 1979 referendum, where a Labour MP tabled a last-minute amendment to say the result was only valid if X amount of those eligible to vote voted for the proposition. This led to the denial of Scottish Parliament in 1979, even though that 51.6% of the people in Scotland voted for that Parliament. But because of the tabled amendment, it meant that as a population share, only 32.9% of those eligible to vote had voted for the proposition. Now, what the gerrymandering that's being proposed in that road is the same thing. So let's just say that out of the 4 million people who are going to vote, then only, say, 1.96 million of them vote yes. That's the majority of those who vote right, that will vote right. So that gets the yes out of the line. But that's less than half the amount of the population that's eligible to vote. So the proposition would fail. Now, this is what happened in 79. In 1979, the bar was set at 40% of the population had to vote for the proposition. No 40% of those who vote, who bother or asked to go and vote, but 40% of all those who were eligible to vote. And that's why there was no Parliament in 1979. Only 32.9% of those eligible to vote voted for the proposition. So, the Scottish Parliament in 79, even though it was a majority yes vote. And that's what they're proposing again, a gerrymandering of the situation to the point where it's probably impossible to get a majority. Now, the way it worked in the 70s with that 40% was that all those who didn't vote were counted as having voted against the proposition. Some of those who were counted as voting against the proposition were recently dead, but hadn't been taken off the voters' roll. So the way they're thinking about rigging it is, those who don't vote will be counted as being against the proposition, making it almost impossible to get over the line. So that's the other big story in the rags yesterday. But of course, the wackiest story in the rags yesterday was in the Star. And that is that pubs, if they want to stay open, they'll need to charge 20 quid a pint in order to be able to stay open to cover the cost of staff and energy. 20 quid a pint. That sorts out the UK's alcohol problem in one bloody go. Because if it's going to be 20 quid for a pint, it's going to be 40 quid for a decent half. So, we're looking at the end of the pub trade. Because you'll be able to go down the supermarket and buy your pint at £2.50 in a tin. £1.50 in a tin. Alright, so say goodbye to your local pub folks. And looking by the way the guy around the corner is renovating the outside of his building, I think it's going up for sale. Right, moving on. Monday, and councils in the north and north east are demanding 2 green free ports. An article in the Press and Journal says the north and the northeast should both have green free ports, and it will generate billions for the economy. So green free ports are going to generate billions for the north and northeast economy, apparently. Now, they're demanding that the Scottish Government and decision makers in Westminster give them 2 free ports, and the headline of the Press and Journal is, "We won't be betrayed again." All right. The news flash: free ports, green free ports, don't generate billions for the economy, and they generally don't create employment either. They just draw work from other areas into the free port, in this case green free ports, in order to get the tax breaks. So basically, work's moving from one area to another area. There's no creating work. And I don't know if you're aware of this, folks, but the UK had free ports and they all failed all right. Now, if I remember correctly, the UK had 7 free ports introduced in 1984, and they were introduced to great fanfare. They were going to be a boon to the economy. They were phased out in 2012 as a failure. I think the last one was up in Cromarty, actually. One of the places is demanding to be a green free port. Now, the UK have recently created 8 new free ports in England. They are the East Midlands Airport, Felixstowe and Harwich, Humber region, Liverpool City region, Plymouth, Solent, Thames and Teesside. Now, these newly set up free ports in England have been set up based on the old model. The old model failed, so I'm afraid these ones are probably going to fail too. And coming back to Scotland and the green free port idea, well, the idea is if you move into these facilities or these ports, then here in Scotland, it must be you must be generating or you must be using green technologies, and it must be environmentally sustainable, whatever it is you're doing. But as I say, free ports don't work. And as to generating for the economy, no, they don't. They just move. They just move from one place to another place. And when it comes to generating a revenue for the exchequer, well, the whole idea of free ports is you levy less tax on the businesses that operate out there. So, not really great. So, there you go. So, the North and the North East can demand. And by all means, go ahead and give them. Watch the work leave Aberdeen into this Freeport area, and watch work leave Inverness into the Freeport area at Cromarty or wherever they put it. But all that's happening is it's going to move workers from one place to another. It'll benefit employers. But it doesn't really matter where these free ports or green free ports are going to be in the UK. If you don't have a manufacturing base, but more importantly, you don't have a market to sell whatever it is you're producing into, then there's no fucking point. None. Absolutely none. So the idea that these ports or free ports or green ports, whatever you want to call them, are going to generate revenue and create employment, well, past experience tells us they don't. Maybe they've got a wee chance in Scotland because of the green energy sector that we have here. But I don't see them doing anything in England. All right, moving on. Monday, here in Scotland, and a report says that the new 20-mile speed limits and 97 settlements across the Borders region are not being enforced. Police Chief Inspector Vince Fisher said speed checks across the region are concentrated on the open roads where most casualties take place. All right. Inspector Fisher goes on to say that in built-up communities there tends not to be so many casualties, and the accidents are there tend just to be prangs and nobody tends to get hurt. So with limited resources, they're targeting the main drags where the most accidents, the most fatalities happen. Okay, now those who oppose the introduction of the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit across the borders in these 97 settlements, because it was very divisive at the time, those who were against it said, what's the fucking point if nobody's enforcing the speed limit? Well, Davey will say, I've driven through these areas, of course, and there is a point to it. When you see that speed limit, you do slow down. The majority do slow down. So it does make it safer. So there you have it. But, you know, the people who campaigned against it says, they're not being policed, and the report says it's not being policed, and the police tell us it's not being policed because they're concentrating their limited resources where problems really occur. Right, moving on. Monday here in Scotland, and the latest round of COVID vaccine boosters are rolled out. First up for these will be those in care homes, the vulnerable, and those who work in health and social care. Okay, now the booster is being rolled out for the over 50s, and like the last time round, it will be done in increments probably 85 to 80, say 80, 75, 75 to 70, you know the thing, they'll come down in increments of 5 years. So if you're at 50, expect notification that you are being called forward for another booster jag for COVID this winter. I'm not going to tell you whether to take it or whether to get it or not get it. Do your own research, make your own mind up, and then go for your jag or don't go for your jag. Okay. Also, Monday here in Scotland, a new law is introduced which prohibits smoking in hospital grounds and smoking anywhere under 15 metres from a hospital building. So if you're in the hospital grounds, you've got to be at least 15 metres from the hospital building or buildings to light up a cigarette. Now, fines will be imposed with a maximum up to £1,000. Best idea, if you're at the hospital, just don't smoke till you leave the hospital grounds. Okay. Moving on, Monday, and the SNP Green Government badge story here in Scotland is to do with transport. Buses, to be precise. The SNP had a manifesto commitment to decarbonise the majority of the bus sector by the end of 2023. Transport Scotland said by 2023, only 16% of the fleet of 3,700 buses will be net zero or decarbonised. Okay. At the moment, only 280 of the fleet are emission-free or decarbonised, with funding for another 325 electric or hydrogen buses in place. So there's a long way to go and not a lot of time to do it in. All right. Now, the pandemic may have slowed things down a little, but it would appear that the bus operators just haven't got the resources to decarbonise, because at this point in time, the new technologies in electric and hydrogen vehicles is prohibitive. The cost is prohibitive, all right. Now, but on the other side of that, there is an SNP good story this week, and it also made it into the mainstream media, so we may as well give it a mention, and that is that hydrogen trains are being trialled here in Scotland. All right. So, hydrogen trains are being trialled on the Falkirk line. I think it's on Lithgow line, actually. But thing is, that's a good news story. The buses, that's a different matter. The operators face an awful lot in costs to decarbonise their fleets. And obviously, like truck operators, bus operators will renew their fleet every 5-7 years. So really, it's a slow process as each vehicle comes of age and is replaced. They say the technology is expensive at the moment, and they need to get that cost down in order for the operators to be able to afford to replace the existing fleet. Right, okay. So that's the story. We're not getting, it won't be, the fleet won't be decarbonised by 2023, the Scottish Government's target. All right, moving on. Monday lunchtime rolls around, and this is the main story yesterday, as you all know, all right. And the outcome of the Tory leadership race is announced. As expected, Liz Truss wins the race. Truss gets 47% of the vote. Truss got 81,326 votes. Sunak got 60,339 votes. So 141,725 people from a population of 65 million across the UK had a say on who is the next Prime Minister. Not very democratic, is it? No. Right, anyway, after Lord Brady announced the results, Truss paid tribute. Truss made a speech. She paid tribute to Bojo the Clown, saying he was respected from Kiev to Carlisle, stopping at the Scottish border, of course, because nobody up here likes her. Right, so she got none of that right, actually. Bojo has been a laughing stock in the international community since he came to power. An absolute laughing stock. He was an even bigger laughing stock when he was a foreign secretary. The position that Truss holds now, actually. So there you have it. I mean, Bojo is seen as a laughing stock. Anyway, let's in tribute to him, says he gets Brexit done. No, he hasn't. Brexit's no done. Say the fastest vaccine rollout, bollocks. The G7, fastest growing economy, G7. Well, what a tush. No, we're getting that. But she rolled out all as a classics and says, you're respected for Kiev to Carlisle. No, he's not. He's a laughing, he's a joke. The bit she did get right is Stoking at Carlisle, because there's not a single sausage in Scotland of any respect from, not even those who claim to be Tories. Right. Anyway, Where are we? And after that, you know, they speak to Sunak, and Sunak says he intends to stay in politics. Will we get a cabinet position? Don't know. He intends to stay in politics, he intends to stay an MP, going to run. Sunak is going to run again in the next election. Right, in response to Truss's election, if you like, if you want to call it that, Mark Drakeford, First Minister of Wales, and Nicola Sturgeon, First Minister of Scotland, tells Truss to hit the ground running and sort out the energy crisis. Now, in response to Truss's selection as the new Tory leader and next Prime Minister of England, Sir Comrade Starmer, the Nobody's Man with no bloody plan, says her campaign shows she's out of touch and ill-prepared for the problems that face the UK. So Mr. Nobody with no plan makes a nothing statement. Starmer's just a waste of space. Don't know what he stands for. Hey, anybody knows what Starmer stands for, apart from the establishment, stick it in the comments. Alright, I'll read them later. Anyway, Scottish Tory branch manager, another Nobody's Man, Dross, tells the press that he and the branch office in Scotland look forward to working with Truss. Here's a thing, but I don't think Truss even knows who Dross is, and I don't think she really cares. The word Scotland and Tories are no synonymous with the people in the Tory party in England. We don't vote Tory. The Tories have no mandate to govern in Scotland. So, Dross telling the Scottish press that him and the Tories up here are looking forward to working with Truss. Well, Truss doesn't get a Scooby who he is and doesn't really care. And doesn't give a damn about the opinions of the Tories in Scotland, whether that be party members or whether that be the leaders. Really doesn't care. For all she cares, for all she knows, the branch office doesn't bloody exist. Right, okay. The best laughed in yesterday's coverage of the clusterfuck, which is the election or selection of Liz Truss as the new head of the Tory party and the new PM, was on the BBC. In the article, it lists the policy pledges she made. It covered the process of the internal Tory party election and all the rest of the nonsense. Now, if David could have edited it, he'd have changed it to, he'd have kept the same title, How Truss Won the Tory Party Leadership Race. But David would have simplified it and just edited it out and just wrote, she's white, the other fella wasn't he? Because that's the bloody truth of it. Aye, I know, Beaverman might well be getting elevated. I'm going to leave speculation about who's going to be in the new cabinet until we get some concrete, and then we'll talk about who's in the new cabinet when it's put together. But at this point in time, what we do know is that Nadine Dorries and the evil one, Priti Patel, will be leaving the cabinet to return to the back benches. I don't think either of them fancy serving under Truss. Don't know why I should keep them anyway. No, I think Alistair Jack will stay Reverend of Wrestling, Jim Campbell. I'm not sure. As I say, I'm not going to speculate on what's going to what monsters are going to be put into the Tory party cabinet at this point in time. We'll just wait and see. Every chance that Jack, who's very unpopular here in Scotland, might be replaced by Fluffy Mandela again. Anyway, now she's been selected, Truss has a very heavy entry to deal with. Collapsing currency, galloping inflation, cost of living crisis, cost of energy crisis, flatlining the economy, the NI protocols, ever-increasing unrest and strikes across these islands. Is Truss up to the job? Probably not. Probably not. Anyway, her plans to cut taxes to get the economy going won't work. Why not? Well, Truss's plans to cut taxes is worth thousands to those on high earnings, those on high pay. But her tax cuts are only worth, and this has been costed, her tax cuts are only worth £7.66 to those on the lowest incomes. So whereas those in the highest incomes will get £1,800 out of tax cuts, those in the lowest incomes will get £7.66 out of tax cuts. That's per year, by the way, just so you understand that. Now, as we all know, to stimulate the economy, you need the majority of people to have disposable income. So that means putting pennies into the pockets of those on the lowest incomes so that they have a disposable income to spend into the economy and stimulate the economy. Now, we've been through the wee Mrs. McGumpher scenario umpteen times. If wee Mrs. McGumpher's no disposable income, she's not buying a new telly, she's not buying a new suite, she's not buying a new carpet. So there you can shut the electric shop, you can shut the carpet shop, and you can shut the sofa shop. All right? Because when people don't have disposable income, they can't spend into the economy contracts. Now, when you give money to those who already have money, that tends to take money out of the economy. They hold that. When you give money to those with the least, they spend it right away into the economy, creating economic growth. So once again, idiot in charge. We've had idiots as chancellors for years, and now we've got an idiot PM pulling the same stupidity that all the rest of the idiots have been pulling. Now, it's not as if there isn't models out there you can look at and say, oh, that's how it works. Portugal, Iceland, Finland. There's a lot of models out there to look at. But if you put money into the pocket of those who have least, they spend it into the economy because they have the most requirements. Simple as that. Okay, and I wanted to avoid this, but of course yesterday Bojo had another farewell speech, didn't he? So Bojo tells the battling Tories to get behind Truss and give Truss her support. Bojo didn't mean a bloody word of it, of course. Bojo will already be conspiring behind their back and trying to raise a vote of no confidence. So there'll be another leadership race, and Bojo can throw his hat in the ring. Because believe it or not, amongst the Conservative Party members out there, Bojo's still their man. He's still the one that they want reading them. Wow. Hey, talk about a dearth of talent. Yeah. Absolutely no talent in the Tory party. It's all about scraping the dregs at the bottom of the barrel. You get no brains. Truss heading to Balmoral today to be announced as the new Prime Minister. Anyway. Okay, dokie. So Bojo didn't mean a bloody word of it, and Bojo will be back. And before we hit the paper review, finally for Monday, how we doing for time? Holyrood gets a new MSP. Dean Lockhart has stepped down. Tory MSP Dean Lockhart has stepped down as list MSP for Mid-Scotland and Fife. He is replaced by Tory councillor Ros McCall. When a regional list MSP stands down, they are replaced by whoever is next on the list of their party. All right. So another non-elected backdoor entrant into Holyrood. You know, I was thinking about this, and when you think about Holyrood, it's sort of like a mix of the House of Commons and the House of Lords, isn't it? You've got the elected MSPs, and then you've got the backdoorers, the non-elected. I suppose it's not quite like the Lords right enough. I suppose we should call it the elected MSPs and the selected MSPs, or elected MSPs and non-elected MSPs, but way you went to put it. But anyway, Tory list MSP has been replaced by another right-wing nutter off a Tory list. Right, that's what I've got for you. So let's have a wee look and see what the papers are going to say. I haven't looked, as you know. I like to like used to get my real reaction to the fish in the press in the morning. Okay, so let's have a look. Scotland's papers. New PM Truss planning energy bill freeze. The Times says straight to business, not until she's been pronounced Prime Minister of the day, she's no. Truss plans energy bill freeze amid fears of mass bankruptcies. Victor will be appointed by Queen today. Right, now listen, as I said earlier, this will be a massive transfer of wealth. She will freeze the price, she will freeze the energy price, but she will subsidise the energy companies massively. Right, Scottish Daily Fail. Cometh the hour, cometh the woman. Oh, Jesus, man. Starting today, our new PM has to tackle some of the energy bills, looming recession, NHS on its knees, war in Ukraine, and threat of new winter of discontent. Well, that sort of sounds it up. And female PMs, it's Tory 3, Labour 0, apparently. The Scotsman has. Tories turn to Truss as nation brace for crisis. Should say union right off, but never mind. The other loony, one of the loony rags, the Scottish Daily Express, put faith in Truss to deliver for Britain. Aye, right, heard that. And the Herald has. Beset by crisis, new PM must provide answers fast. Aye. That might be funny. The Eye has. Truss plans to freeze energy bills until January, so just a 3-month respite, and then a double whammy in January, apparently. The Daily Tory graph. Energy bills to be frozen until next election. So we'll get 3 months in 2 years. What's it to be? Truss urged to make a modern deputy prime minister. Oh dear. Right. The Metro has. Now show a little respect. So Sturgeon demand as Truss wins race to be next PM. So apparently Nicola Sturgeon's demanding respect. I find that hard to believe. I think the Metro's making piss up. Sturgeon doesn't demand anything. Sturgeon just commands respect. The Press and Journal says Truss told forget honeymoon. The Edinburgh Evening News says, Dear Prime Minister, hear the voice of the people of Edinburgh. I mean, fuck all. No. The Record has a message to Liz Truss. Only 50 Tory MPs voted for you at the start of this leadership contest, and less than half your party backed you at the end. But for some reason, we have all ended up with you as Prime Minister. Even a buffoon like Boris Johnson had a mandate from the British public, which is more to be said, but more to think to be said for you. It's time the people had their say on this Conservative farce. So the Daily Record's main headline is, call a general election now. The National runs with, is she even worse than Boris? Answer, yes. And Tory staffer shared Sturgeon Hitler post. Ah, fuck you. I mean, how petty and stupid are these people? The Evening Telegraph, Truss issues. Aye, my arse. Right, and the Star has. It's the end of an era, but is this one actually any better? Sky Joe's cancer tears. TV star goes public to help other women. So, 2 headlines. You know, bye-bye Boris, and some TV stars get cancer. There you go. That's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. Right, so let's get on with the usual stuff. Okay, Indy 2 Cafe, charity night, Foley Town General Motors Club, 24th September, 7:30. Tickets available for Agnes Care at the Indy 2 Cafe. It's a public group on Facebook, Indy 2 Cafe. Go and have a look. If you're interested in coming along, contact the group. They'll tell you about tickets and things like that. Or if you want to purchase tickets, it's a PayPal at acare53 at gmail.com. Okay, right, and glad to see we made it to 1,000 in the comments there on YouTube. So thank you very much for that. Subscribe, hit the like button on YouTube, and if you're on Facebook, please hit like and share this around. That's if you like what we do. Right now, as I say this every day, there is a campaign underway. Get your eyes on the prize, put your partisan politics in your pocket, learn your how to honeys, and get out there and win hearts and minds. As far as I'm concerned, I still think even after there is an announcement by the Supreme Court, even if it's a no, I think we'll see the SNP step outside the UK circuit and do it under Scots law anyway. So there you go. So there's a campaign underway. Partisan politics focus, eyes on the prize, get out there and win hearts and minds. Now support the independent press. Okay, there's something else I was wanting to talk about. Oh, aye, and Sarah Sawyers has agreed to join David and I in the two Davies on Sunday. So we'll get Mary an idea what's going on with the Salvo group. Now, as I say, people have heard me say, is this another loony fringe thing? I make no apology for saying that. There's been that many loony fringe groups popped up since the last referendum. It's been very decisive. But Dave and I are quite willing to listen to what Sarah's going to say. As I say, I don't know how it's going to help in a constitutional democracy, but it'll be really good for Sarah to enlighten us on that. So we'll thank her for agreeing to come on. And it'll be good to hear what it is she's going to say, because I don't think these people out there claiming it's a silver bullet, I don't think that's what Sarah means at all. Listen to what Mark had to say. So we'll see what Sarah has to say. Okay. Now, so support the independent media. All right, support Broadcasting Scotland, support Independence Live, Indie Live Radio, Caledon Media, Tours Radio, support the iScot magazine, support the national newspaper, and if any of the independent bloggers and bloggers have a crowdfund are going, you've got a couple of shekels to spare, throw them in the pot. These guys do important work, especially on the side of investigative journalism, which the newspapers seem to no longer fund. The newspapers and the BBC just seem to be responding to press releases by central government in London. Okie dokie. Right, and health messaging, folks. Only 2 bits of guidance left. Face masks in closed public spaces and clean hands and surfaces regularly. Now, when it comes to social distancing, if you're under the weather, mask up and show some responsibility for the people in your community and social distance. And finally, if you're still using NHS lateral flow tests, please submit your results to NHS Scotland so we can keep an eye on what's going. Apparently, the last break part says we can now unlock the salt tire emoji. Thanks, last break part. We'll take that on board. So, where was it? Aye, and submit your results to the NHS Scotland. Okay. Right, thanks very much, folks. Have a nice day. We'll be back tomorrow to round up the piss that's in the press today. I guess we're getting a lot of the Duchess of Balmoral and Bojo and Truss as they're here in Scotland. Well, Truss, do the right thing and pay a visit to Butte House on the way back down that road. Nah, I don't fucking think so. All right. Have a nice day, guys. See you tomorrow.